I am making an attempt to go live today on multiple platforms. And so forgive me here while I do a little bit of setup. But today we are going to go through how to make apparel. And if you've been someone who has been searching for information on how to make your own custom apparel line, like I wanted to design this stuff myself, and you're out there and you're searching and you've only been finding information on how to drop ship or how to print on blanks or white label apparel, I'm going to walk you through a little bit more of a process today. So bear with me. I'm going to do that intro again. It is very difficult to set all of this up as a solopreneur while I don't actually have anybody helping me with any of this. And this is also my first time doing multiple platforms. So give me 1 second to kind of get myself started over on this other. And then if you also see my eyes wandering, we have a couple different cameras going today. So here we go. I'm going to try over here as well. Hello. Today we are talking about how to make apparel. And if you are out there and you've been searching for information on how to make your own custom apparel line, like something that you want to create from scratch, something that is yours, something that you're not pulling off of a shelf somewhere else, and you're frustrated by the information that you've been getting, where, go out and start drop shipping, go out and buy blanks, go out and buy white label and slap your brand on it and call that your apparel line. This is a little bit different. So, we're going to be touching on a different subject today. I'm going to be talking a lot more about how we inside the corporate apparel brands actually work on creating custom proprietary apparel from scratch. What that looks like, so that if you're interested in starting your own brand and creating your own apparel that way, this is something that you can kind of start researching and doing. There is no barrier to entry here. We'll talk a little bit about money today and what that might mean in the way of barrier to entry, but I also think that going with just drop shipping, or going with just what we call in the industry, we call it merchandising. If you are going out to a supplier, maybe you're working with a screen printing facility and they're helping you put your logo on some stuff that already exists. We can buy like next level blanks or um, American Apparel blanks, and then we can put our own logo on it and we can call that our apparel line. That is definitely one way to go. But inside the big corporate apparel brands, we refer to that as merchandising your brand. So you're basically taking something that someone else already created, it already exists, and then you're putting your brand and your logo on it to help you kind of sell your brand and get your name out there and all of that good stuff, which is extremely relevant, right? Like, this is something that a lot of brands need to do. It is an easy way to get started. And there are a lot of great drop shipping accounts out there right now, although I have yet to find one that really creates the level of quality apparel that you can get if you really start your own brand from scratch and create your own quality apparel that's proprietary to you. It's something that you dream up, something that you have on your heart that you want to put out into the world in the way of an apparel line, and then you figure out how to get it developed. So, I want to talk a little bit about that side of it today. And then I also want to introduce you to a completely free workshop that I'm going to be doing in February, where we're going to dive a lot deeper into the processes that are required to start and grow your own apparel brand in this way. So, if you want to behave like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, the big name brands that are out there, the brands that are making billions of dollars every single year, these are the processes that I'm teaching. This is the information also that's missing from the internet. Like, when I Google how to grow my apparel brand, there's some good information out there, but it is also really hard to find information on rationalizing your line. How are product line managers line planning every single year inside these big brands? How are they setting up process? How are they putting together a calendar and a timeline? These are all things that I've been doing for 20 years of my career. And so, as a project management professional, a past product line manager, a past management of development and technical design, I am now able to kind of pull all of that information together. And because it's missing, and I feel like it's so needed for so many brands out there, it is my absolute pleasure to be doing this in these free workshops and giving away a lot of the tools and information that you need. So, one of the first things that I really like to talk about when we're going into building our own apparel, like, how do you make apparel? Well, you probably have an idea for something that is missing from the market. A lot of the time we come up with an idea or we see that, we want to go shopping and we're looking for a specific rain jacket that might be perfect for this trip that we're planning or this trip that we're going to go on. But we can't find what we need. And so we're scouring the internet, we're going on these searches, and we can't find the product that would be helpful to us. And so what we end up doing then in the apparel industry is kind of saying that that's a market gap. So we call that a market gap and we want to fill it. We want to fill it with the product that is needed or that is missing from the market. And so we go to the drawing table and start thinking about how we want to put that product together. And so, in my opinion, my humble opinion over here, the first thing that we need to do when we want to start building an apparel line or even one single apparel garment is going through our numbers. And a lot of other fashion freelancers out there will tell you the first step is designing. But if you cannot afford to make this product, or you cannot afford to work with the manufacturer that you plan to send your design to, you will not make much sense to go into the design phase right off the bat. So when I onboard clients at Unmarked Street and they're coming on and we're working with them for the very first time, putting together their plans for a new product, what I really like to go through with them first is their budget. How much money do you have to spend? How much do you plan for this to cost? What do you want to sell this item for? What are your revenue goals for this? Let's say you want to put one or two great products out into the market and it is really important for you to bring these on the books. You want to sell that jacket, that rain jacket that is missing from the market. You want to sell it for just $100. And you want to do that because you want to be able to compete with Patagonia, who has a lightweight rain shell for $99. Well, as your consultant and as my client, we are going to work together to figure out if we can make that happen first. So we're going to work backwards from your revenue goal. Like, how much money do you feel like you want to make in the first year, in the first 2 years, within 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? How do we work that backwards into the money that you have today so that we can make sure you're not overspending and then blowing out your budget immediately? So, this is the kind of work that we do. We really want to look at all of these numbers first. What is the possible retail? Again, if it's $100, what does your target cost need to be based on that $100 so that you can make a healthy margin percentage to make the profits that you need to hit the revenue goals that you have? It's all actually fairly simple once you get into it and you start mapping out all of these numbers. You start playing with some of the spreadsheets that I provide, and the formulas do a lot of the work for you. But if you don't do the numbers up front, you could find that anything you put your heart and soul into designing isn't going to be able to be achieved right off the bat. And so you end up getting really disappointed, or you end up spending a lot of time on things that aren't quite ready to go. So for me, this is definitely a bit of an anomaly. Like, I don't know that there are a ton of other fashion freelancers out there talking first about budget. We are going to put all of your numbers on paper. When I started my entrepreneurial journey, I was really challenged before I started anything at all to write a business plan and put all of my numbers on paper and make sure that I had a plan. What was I going to be doing every day? How was I going to be spending my money? What kind of money did I project was going to be able to come in? And without that, I don't know that I would have had the success that I had in the first couple years of my business, because I had that North Star to constantly be moving toward. And so this is essentially what we do in this same space. Inside the big corporate apparel walls, we do the same thing. When we kick off a season for a new apparel development season, we go through the line planning process first. We start looking at what items maybe need to be removed from the line. Maybe they have a poor margin percentage, so we need to replace them with something that has a better cost quote. We start looking at that first. Those are the things we look at first, because if we can't figure out how to replace products appropriately, or we can't figure out how to design the right products that fit into our budget, we need to take them off the list and not blow out our team, not stress out our team, not burn out our team on work that ultimately isn't going to go to market. So then what we want to do after you have all of your numbers, you know exactly what your target costs are, you know exactly what you want to be making, you know exactly what you can afford to make based on the dollars you have on hand today, or what dollars you feel like you can raise by time you need to start getting to work. So we look at all that first, right? And then we go into the design process. And the design process can be really, really fun. And now there are some amazing fashion designers out there who can help you with sketching, help you with color palettes, help you choose all of those details. So, your fabrics, your trims, what is your branding going to look like? How are you mocking up the different labels and packaging that are going to go on all of your garments? All of that is the fun work. Like this is the dreamy creative part of fashion design. And so we go into this on the corporate side too. We start working with our apparel designers. As a product manager, I would take all of the financial information that I've already built and I would put it into what we call a product brief. And I would hand over that product brief to my designer. And it already gives them a lot of information that they need to know. If I have a competitor out there who has a product close to what I want to make, now we've already said that there's a market gap. So it's hard for me to find maybe an exact product that I want to copy. But maybe I found three, four, or five different garments that have something each in them that I want to then pull together into a single design. This jacket fits the way I want it to. That jacket has the hood that I like, but this third jacket has the pocketing that I really want. And this fourth jacket is the fabric that I'm thinking of using. So, how does my designer then take all of that, put it together into a single design, and then put our own brand's mark on it? So, do we have some sort of brand signature that we use? Is there a seaming? Is there a label? Is there a heat transfer? Is there a color that we use that when someone sees our garment out in the wild, they go, oh, that's their garment. I know because they always use that color or that band on their sleeve. Looking at you, Rafa. That is always a Rafa signature. And so these are the type of things that we start to do when we get into the design phase. Depending on how many styles we felt like we could afford to do, the design then gets handed off to our development and technical design team. And one process that I am really starting to push forward is 3D design. So at this stage, once we have a sketch done, I really like to work with a 3D developer and designer to develop my digital pattern. So they take their all of their pattern engineering skills, they put together a pattern file for us, and then they'll roll it up into a 3D rendering. And that 3D rendering is going to tell me right away if it looks the way we wanted it to, or there's some things that we need to change. And I really like to go through 3D renderings until we're at a point where that 3D avatar looks exactly how we want it to. The garment is draping the way we expect. A lot of these amazing 3D rendering software tools are able to put in the exact fabric that we want to use. So the garment in 3D will drape on the body the way that it will in real life. So we're also able to then see what that's going to look like. How do all of the seams lay on the body? Are the pockets too high? Are the pockets too low? All of that can be mapped out in 3D before we even start making any prototypes with real fabric. And while I will say I don't think we're at a point in the industry where 3D is all you need to do, I do still think you need to have physical prototypes that you can try on a fit model and actually wear test and get them on bodies. I do think that starting this process in 3D is the most sustainable process that we can do in our industry as we move forward as a collective group. And the reason for this is because the less amount of prototypes that we can make, the more that we can do digitally, the less fabric wastage, the less garment wastage that we're going to have as an industry, and the less that we're going to be end up putting it into landfills. So, as a corporate apparel brand, we might do 35 brand new styles at the beginning of a season. And we might need to do up to 3 prototypes of every single one of those styles. And when that happens, our factory, if they're a stellar factory, is also making what we call a keep sample. And so the keep sample stays with them so that they have a reference sample. The prototype goes to us so that we can prep it, measure it, fit it, do all of the comments that we need to do on it. And if at the end of the day that prototype wasn't perfect, which 9 times out of 10 it's not, it essentially becomes garbage. You cannot do anything with it other than fit it, pin it, cut it, mark on it, and essentially throw it away. Now, there are some great resources out there for us now where we can send those garments to be recycled as best as they can. There are some great companies who are doing this work for us, and I am so glad that we are no longer needing to throw garments literally in the garbage. However, that does still happen at a lot of brands. And so the less amount of prototypes that we can make, the less garbage that we have. And you think about how many, companies are doing those 35 styles with three different prototypes each. Like that adds up over time. And so as we start to want to make a better impact on the planet and, reduce our carbon footprint as an apparel industry, it's really important for us to consider how we do our internal processes as well as the fabrics that we choose, which is one of the more talked about options, and then what we're asking our consumers to do as well. So it is part of our responsibility to figure out how to maybe do some of this digitally instead of making a bunch of protos up front. So that is part of my process. And if you go to thebusinessofapparel.com, you can download my apparel product development blueprint, which is also going to walk you through all of this. It is a handy dandy free PDF that you can get today for $0. And you can then make sure to keep it with you. And it has all of this information in it. Once you move past 3D design, we are going to go into prototyping. So we're going to choose all of our fabrics. We're going to buy some of our fabrics. We are going to ask our factory to start making a lot of the prototypes that we need to see. So if you've already done your 3D prototyping, you might only need to see one or two prototypes, hopefully two maximum, if you've done proper 3D prototyping. Once you approve your base size prototype, so by base size, I mean essentially what is that middle size in your size range? If you offer sizes extra small through extra large at your company, this is a medium. So you want to be fitting on a medium, you want to be asking for prototypes in medium. And the reason we want to do that is because you don't want to get too far from the center of your grade rule or the center of your body size chart, because that is going to be the average and more typical body type on top of body size. So we talk a lot about body measurements, right? But there's also a lot of buzz starting to happen about body type and the way that bodies are shaped, and how if you are also working at that middle section of your grade rule, that is going to give you the best results in that area as well. So once we approve that size medium, let's say, we are then going to move on to a size set. We're going to ask our factory to make us one of each size. Now, if you're super confident in your grade, you can move forward with what we call a jump size set. And a jump size set is something that you get like one of every size. So if medium is your base size, you still want to get a medium at this stage, but you might only get an extra small and an extra large. And so you're just checking those three sizes. A big recommendation that I have here is to just choose the sizes that you have fit models for. If you have a small, medium, and extra large person who can try on the garments and wear test them for you, that should be your jump size set. So you want to get that in. Essentially, what you're doing here is you're checking for your grade rule to make sure that it fleshed out properly on this specific garment. And you're also checking to make sure, again, that this garment, once it gets put into all of the different sizes that you're going to offer, fits and feels comfortable on all different body shapes and sizes. So that's what you're going to do at size set stage. Once size set is approved, you're going to request a pre-production sample, which should come to you as a perfect sample. It should be made in bulk fabric if you can do that. It should be in correct colors. All of your correct trim should be on there. A pre-production sample should also come to you as if it is packaged for bulk. So if you are expecting it to come in a poly bag, if you expect to have hang tags on it, if you expect any other labeling to be on your garment, your pre-production sample should come to you that way. And so you're going to evaluate that and essentially approve that and tell your factory, this is perfect. When you are approving a pre production sample, you can expect that that is exactly how your bulk production should turn out. If you can't approve a pre production sample and call it perfect, this is where we inside the apparel industry have a lot of debate on whether or not you can make changes and proceed, or whether you need to drop a style because it's not where it needs to be, or whether you're making the risk and calling it perfect, because at the end of the day, we can always make improvements on everything that we do. And so, is it close enough? Is it something that you're still happy to put out to the customer? Once you've approved that pre-production sample, that's when you go into your production phase. You send your purchase order to your factory. They purchase all of your bulk goods, so your bulk fabrics, all of your bulk trims, all of the packaging that's going to go on all of that. They plan to put you into their production capacity schedule, and as soon as they receive everything, they start sewing your goods. So this is how we make apparel. inside the corporate apparel industry, it is not a short process. I will tell you that right now. One of the biggest complaints that I've gotten as a consultant and even inside corporate apparel brands when we're working with our teams is about timeline. Timeline and calendar is so controversial in our industry because people always want it to be faster. And that 100% makes sense, right? Like we, as a fashion industry, need to be close to trend. So if we're seeing that there's a trend already out there that people are following, it's really hard when we can't jump on top of it for another 9 months or another year. If I take a year to 9 months to develop something right now, design and develop something right now, it might be that that trend that's going on right now is no longer a trend. And so we might have missed it. So there are definite ways that we read that through the apparel industry by going through trend forecasting and using lots of trend tools that we can predict what is going to be happening a year, 2 years, 3 years from now so that we're not stuck in that situation. And this is also how fast fashion happens, right? They want to get on top of a trend that's happening right now. And so they design and develop and put into production super fast exactly what they need right now. And a lot of times that super fast production and development schedule creates quality issues. I if you've bought fast fashion items out there, you probably know that you can only wear it a few times. And if you wash it and wear it every single time, the fabric might start falling apart, your seams might start falling apart. It's because that has to be so quick. And so, inside the rest of the apparel industry, where we don't do fast fashion, we are really trying to put out garments that are going to last a lot longer for you. They are going to be higher quality. So, if you think about buying, five $10 t-shirts from a fast fashion outlet or one $50 t-shirt from a high quality, well planned out apparel brand, it's the same amount of money, but that $50 t-shirt is going to last you a lot longer than those five t-shirts that cost $10. So that's the kind of information that we're trying to get out there as an apparel industry and as a lot of advocates for sustainability in this space. So once you then have all of your garments in house, that's when you can go sell them. You can launch them to your customers. And so that is how we make apparel. It is not anything like drop shipping. It is not anything like pulling a t-shirt off of a shelf and putting our logo on it. It is not as fast as that. So if 9 months to a year sounds like it's too long for something you want or need to do, then maybe drop shipping and doing merchandising blanks is the way for you to go. And maybe that's a great way for you to start. You can start pulling in some money by doing drop shipping, and then you can take the profits that you make from drop shipping and start to invest them into a more custom apparel development process. It is also not super cheap to start an apparel line from scratch. So, we as an industry are kind of starting to have these conversations. What are you recommending to your clients that they have saved or that they have on hand to be able to put into their first purchase order so that they're successful and they're making good profits and they're able to then move forward and grow their business. And the number that I'm starting to hear is landing somewhere around 120, $150,000 up front. That is the money that a lot of people are really starting to recommend that people save or raise or get loans for to really kick off a really high quality, well built apparel line. And that goes into a couple different things. So, if you're raising that much money, you're probably going, what the hell is all that money for? Well, number one, it helps you tap into professionals. Those of us who have been in the industry for a really long time are here to help you fit your garments in a professional way, to make sure that your garments are comfortable on the body, that they move with the body. If you're a performance apparel brand, that is a talent and a skill that is very, very hard to curate. And so, those of us who are out in the industry, we are here to help you do that. But part of that funding is going to go toward hiring professionals who can do that work for you. You might need to hire a fashion designer. You might need to hire other people to come in and help you with sales, help you with marketing, help you get social media off the ground. A lot of that money is going to go toward team. And then you are going to save some of that as well for development fees. A lot of factories, especially if you are a small brand and you haven't worked with them before, are going to charge you for development. And once you've become a good customer of theirs for a year or two, they might be able to waive those for you. You won't really do development fees forever and ever. They will roll a lot of their development work up into your garment costs. And so you can split it across like entire purchase orders and it ends up being cents on every single garment as opposed to lumps of money that are due up front. But at first, you're probably going to owe development fees. And then you also need to have money on hand so that you can buy your first round of inventory. And all of that numbers work that we did up front that I talked about first, all of that work is going to indicate to you how much you can spend, how much inventory you can buy, how much inventory you need to sell through, and how quickly so that you can reap those profits and then put them back into your next purchase order. So, that is how you make apparel in the corporate apparel industry. If you have any questions, I really encourage you to reach out to me. I love to talk about this topic. And if you would like to really dive deep with me on these processes, I will be doing 4 free workshops in February. So you get to pick a day that works for you. And if none of the days work for you, you actually can just choose any day and know that we are going to be sending out the replays to everybody who signs up. So if you go to thebusinessofapparel.com/free workshop, you can sign up for any of the days. If you can show up live, great. We are actually going to be doing some real live line planning together. We are going to take time. I'm going to be gifting you my initial line planning template that we sell online on our website. I'm going to be gifting it to you for free during the workshop, and we are going to work on it together. So you're going to walk away from this 90-minute live workshop with work actually done. And you are going to have that to keep with you forever and ever. This is a worksheet and a spreadsheet that I used as a product line manager every single day when I had that job in my corporate role. And so I am now gifting it to you so that you have it. You can customize it. You can change any of the cells, any of the rows. You can add rows, add columns. All of it is going to be there for you. We're going to do that in the workshop. And then at the very end, if you can stay for the end, we are also going to be doing some raffle prizes. So please sign up and come to the workshop. I would love to see you there and really dive deep on the biggest processes that are important to growing and building an apparel brand. Again, totally free. And if you cannot show up live on any of the 4 days that I will be going live, we will send out the replay to you. So if you still sign up, we'll make sure that you get that replay. It will be saved and shared as a YouTube link. So if you have any questions, let me go and let me know. You can definitely go again to thebusinessofapparel.com/free workshop. For those of you who are on Instagram following me, you can just go straight to my link in bio and it is a button right there for you, made it super easy. And again, reach out to me with anything that you need. We will be doing a couple more lives before we go into our workshops. So I really look forward to seeing